Number 1. Sarcoptes scabiei, the mite that tunnels through your skin. It is smaller than a grain of salt. You will never see it walking. But a fertilized female does something you can see the evidence of. She lands on your skin and she starts to dig. She has cutting mouthparts and specialized front legs, and she uses them to burrow into the outer layer of your skin. Not through it, but along it, sideways, carving a tunnel just beneath the surface. She moves roughly 2 millimeters a day, and as she goes, she lays eggs behind her. 2 or 3 a day for up to 2 months. The tunnel is real. On close inspection, you can see it. A fine, slightly raised, grayish line, sometimes with a tiny dark speck at one end. That speck is her. Here is the part most people get wrong. The intense itching does not come from the digging. It comes from your immune system reacting to her eggs, her saliva, and her waste, left in the tunnel behind her. Which is why the itch takes weeks to start on a first infestation and hours on a second one. Your body already knows. It is treatable and it does not kill you. But it is a living animal building a home inside your skin, and it gets much worse from here. Number 2. Hookworm. It enters through the bottom of your foot. Hookworm larvae live in warm, damp soil. They are microscopic. They are also patient. They wait, standing upright on the soil surface, moving toward warmth. You step on the ground barefoot, and they go in. They do not need a cut or a wound. They secrete enzymes that break down the proteins holding your skin together, and they push straight through the intact sole of your foot. Then they find a blood vessel. They travel with your circulation to the heart, and from the heart to the lungs. There they leave the bloodstream and break into the air sacs. And then they crawl up your airways, all the way to the throat, where you swallow them. They arrive in your small intestine and they bite down. That is not a metaphor. They have cutting plates that lock onto the intestinal wall. They drink blood directly from the vessels beneath it. A heavy infection can cause chronic blood loss significant enough to produce iron deficiency anemia. In children, it can affect growth and development. They came in through your foot. They ended up in your gut. They took the long way through your heart and your lungs to get there. If you're still here, subscribe. Number 9 puts its larvae in your brain, and number 10 dissolves it. Number 3. Ascaris lumbricoides, the giant roundworm. This is the largest roundworm that lives in humans. A mature female can reach 35 centimeters. Not 35 millimeters, centimeters. You acquire it by ingesting eggs, usually from contaminated soil or produce. The egg hatches in your small intestine, and the larva does something almost identical to the hookworm. It burrows through the intestinal wall, enters the blood, travels to the lungs, climbs your airway, and is swallowed a second time. Only then does it settle and grow to full size. It does not attach to the wall. It does not bite. It simply lives free in your intestine, swimming against the flow of what you eat, feeding on partially digested food. A light infection produces nothing at all. Many carriers never know. A heavy infection is different. Dozens or even hundreds of worms can form a physical mass, and that mass can obstruct the intestine completely. That is a surgical emergency, and it happens most often in children because a child's intestine is narrower, and they migrate. If something disturbs them, a fever, certain medications, adult worms have been documented leaving the intestine and traveling into the bile duct, the liver, and out through the mouth or the nose. Number 4. The human bot fly. It grows under your skin and breathes through a hole. The adult fly does not bite you. It cannot. Its strategy is far stranger than that. It catches a mosquito mid-air. It holds the mosquito, glues its eggs onto the mosquito's abdomen, and releases it. The mosquito goes on with its life. It finds a warm body. It lands on you. The heat of your skin is the trigger. It causes the eggs to hatch right there on the mosquito, and the larvae drop onto you and enter through the mosquito's bite wound or through a hair follicle. Then it grows. The larva develops in the tissue just beneath your skin, forming a raised lesion. It has rows of backward-facing spines that anchor it in place, which is exactly why it cannot simply be pulled out. And it needs to breathe. So it keeps a small hole open to the surface, and it holds its posterior spiracles up against it. People report feeling movement. Some report a sensation of something turning. It is not usually dangerous, and eventually, the larva would leave on its own to pupate. The standard removal approach is to block that breathing hole, forcing the larva toward the surface. There is an animal living in your skin, and the only reason you can find it is that it needs air. Number 5. The Guinea worm. It comes out over weeks, and you have to help it. You drink water containing tiny copepods, water fleas that carry the larvae. Your stomach acid kills the copepod. It does not kill the larva. The larva penetrates your intestinal wall and moves into your body tissue, and then it does nothing at all for about a year. During that year, it mates. The male dies, the female grows, and she can reach 80 centimeters. Roughly a year after the water you drank, she moves. She travels through your tissue toward the skin, usually of the lower leg or the foot, and she creates a blister. The blister burns intensely. The pain drives the person to do the one thing the worm needs: put the limb into cool water. The moment the blister contacts water, it ruptures, and the female releases hundreds of thousands of larvae into it, which are eaten by copepods, which are drunk by the next person. The worm engineers your behavior to complete its life cycle. There is no drug that kills it. The removal method is the same one used thousands of years ago. Wind the emerging worm around a small stick, a few centimeters a day, over days or weeks, and never pull hard enough to break it. If it breaks inside you, the remaining portion can cause severe inflammation. Halfway. The next 5 are worse, and the last one has a survival rate close to 0. Number 6. Lya, the worm that crosses your eye. It is transmitted by deer flies. The larvae enter through the bite, and over months they mature into adult worms that can reach 7 centimeters. They live in the subcutaneous tissue, the layer just under your skin, and they move continuously through your body. Most of the time you feel nothing. Then one crosses the conjunctiva of your eye. It is clearly visible, a thin worm moving beneath the surface of the eyeball in real time, while the person can see it happening in a mirror. It passes through in minutes to hours. It does not usually damage the eye permanently. The migration itself is not the main medical problem. The main problem is treatment. In someone carrying a very high number of larvae in their blood, killing them all at once can trigger a severe inflammatory reaction, including damage to the brain, which means the treatment has to be measured against the parasite load first. You cannot simply kill it and hope. Number 7. Schistosoma. It swims into you and lives in your blood. The larvae live in fresh water. Released by infected freshwater snails, they are free swimming. They are actively hunting. They detect the chemical signature of human skin. You wade into the water. They find you, attach, and penetrate your intact skin using enzymes. Once inside, they enter the bloodstream and mature into adult worms. And then they do something almost no other parasite does. The male and female pair up permanently. The female lives inside a groove that runs along the male's body. They live like that inside your blood vessels for years, sometimes decades. The damage is not from the worms, it is from the eggs. The female lays hundreds to thousands of eggs, and many never leave the body. They lodge in surrounding tissue, the bladder wall, the intestinal wall, the liver. Your immune system attacks each trapped egg and forms scar tissue around it. Repeated over years, that scarring damages the organ. Chronic schistosomiasis is a leading cause of liver and bladder disease in the regions where it is endemic, and long-term infection is associated with bladder cancer. Number 8. Onchocerca volvulus. It causes river blindness. It is transmitted by black flies that breed in fast-flowing rivers, which is where the name comes from. The adult worms live in fibrous nodules under your skin. A female can live in one of those nodules for up to 15 years, releasing thousands of microscopic larvae every day for that entire time. Those larvae migrate through your skin and through your eyes. While they are alive, they cause relatively little. The damage happens when they die. A dying larva releases the bacteria it carries inside it. and your immune system responds violently to that release. In the skin, that means intense, chronic itching, sometimes severe enough to alter a person's entire life. In the eye, it means inflammation, and repeated inflammation over years scars the cornea. The blindness is not caused by the parasite eating anything. It is caused by your own immune system responding correctly over and over in the wrong place. Mass drug administration has dramatically reduced it in many regions. It remains one of the world's leading infectious causes of blindness. Number 9. Taenia solium. Its larvae end up in your brain. There are two completely different infections here, and the difference matters enormously. If you eat undercooked pork containing larval cysts, you get an adult tapeworm in your intestine. It can grow to several meters. Most people with an intestinal tapeworm have mild symptoms or none at all. That is not the dangerous one. The dangerous infection happens when you ingest the eggs directly, usually through food or water contaminated with human feces from someone carrying an adult worm. Because then your body is not the final host. Your body is the pig. The eggs hatch, the larvae cross your intestinal wall, enter your bloodstream, and travel into muscle, into the eye, and into the brain. There they form cysts. That is neurocysticercosis. The cysts can sit silently for years. The trouble often begins when they die, because a dying cyst triggers a strong immune response and swelling in the surrounding brain tissue. The most common presenting symptom is a seizure in an adult who has never had one before. Neurocysticercosis is one of the leading preventable causes of adult-onset epilepsy worldwide. And the transmission route means something uncomfortable. You do not have to eat pork to get it. You only have to be near someone who is carrying the adult worm. Number 10. Naegleria fowleri. Almost nobody survives it. It is not a worm. It is a single-celled amoeba, and it lives normally in warm, fresh water, lakes, hot springs, poorly maintained pools, warm rivers. It is not a human parasite. It has no interest in you. It eats bacteria. It becomes lethal entirely by accident. Water goes up your nose, diving, jumping in, rinsing your sinuses with untreated water. At the roof of your nasal cavity, there is a thin plate of bone, and threads of your olfactory nerve pass through it, directly into your brain. That is how you smell. The nerve is exposed to the outside world by design. The amoeba follows it. It travels along the olfactory nerve, through the bone, and arrives in the frontal lobe. And then it begins to consume brain tissue. Symptoms begin within 1 to 9 days. Severe headache, fever, nausea. Then confusion, stiff neck, seizures, hallucinations. From first symptom to death is typically about 5 days. The fatality rate is above 97%. Fewer than 10 survivors have been documented in the United States out of well over 150 recorded infections. It is extraordinarily rare. Millions of people swim in warm, fresh water every year, and nothing happens. You cannot catch it from drinking the water, and it does not spread between people. But it is the clearest case on this entire list of a boundary failing. There is a physical hole in your skull with nerve tissue running through it because you need to be able to smell. And once in a very great while, something swims up it. So, 10 parasites. A mite tunneling under your skin. A worm entering through your foot. A 35-centimeter roundworm in your gut. A larva breathing through a hole in your arm. A meter-long worm that makes you put your leg in water. A worm crossing your eye. A pair living permanently in your blood. Larvae blinding you as they die. Cysts in your brain. And an amoeba that came in through your nose. Notice how almost none of them forced their way in. The hookworm used enzymes to open a door your skin already had. The botfly used a mosquito you were always going to be bitten by. The guinea worm used your own pain to make you walk into water. The tapeworm used a route that exists because your intestine has to let nutrients through. And the amoeba used a hole that is there so you can smell. Every one of them found a way in that your body left open on purpose, for a reason that has nothing to do with them. Your body is not a sealed container. It cannot be. It has to take in air, and food and water and light and information about the world. Every one of those is an opening, and an opening is an opening for everything. Subscribe, and I'll show you what your body does when something gets all the way in.